We begin tonight with breaking news in the race for the White House. President Joe Biden is dropping out, announcing today that he will not seek re-election in November. Instead, he is now supporting Vice President Kamala Harris as the Democratic nominee for president. Good evening and thanks for joining us on this historic night. I'm Steve Price.
I'm Carlo Cicchetto. President Biden's historic announcement today to step away from the presidential election comes amid growing pressure from his own party following last month's disastrous debate performance.
CBS News reporter Natalie Brandt is at the White House. She has been following the situation all afternoon long. Of course, the announcement from Biden coming this morning, then this afternoon, his formal nomination or recommending Kamala Harris. Now we join Natalie live in Washington. Natalie?
CBS News has learned the president began to come to a decision Saturday evening after reflecting on the path forward. This afternoon, he held a call with top advisors and then made this historic announcement on social media.
President Biden has dropped his bid for re-election. In a statement, the president said in part, quote, "While it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term." His change of heart comes 1 month ahead of the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. Jamie Harrison is the chair of the DNC.
I am emotional about the president's decision because this president, Joe Biden, has been a transformational president. He's been a great leader.
In his statement, President Biden says he's offering his full support and endorsement of Vice President Kamala Harris to become the Democratic presidential nominee.
Former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton are also backing Vice President Harris. By this weekend, more than 36 Democratic lawmakers had called for the president to exit the race following last month's debate. Delaware Senator Chris Coons, one of the president's closest allies and co-chair of the Biden-Harris campaign, called this a critical moment in American history.
This was a very difficult decision, and one that I think reflects the very best of who Joe Biden is. The challenge of seeing this moment and of recognizing what was in the best interest of the nation was a significant challenge. I still believe he could have beaten Donald Trump.
President Biden made the decision while recovering from COVID-19 at his home in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, where voters say they support the move.
I think he made the right decision. I think it was very brave of him.
I just think it's a little shocking at this stage of the game with, 13 weeks left until an election. I think that a lot of people knew there was going to be some big issues here for a long period of time.
The DNC says in the coming days, the party will undertake a transparent and orderly process to move forward as a united Democratic Party. Natalie Brandt, CBS News, the White House.
Vice President Harris in a statement says she's honored to.
All right, Natalie, thank you. Well, reaction from leaders all across San Diego is pouring in after President Biden's announcement.
CBS 8's Isabella Roberts joins us live in studio to break down those reactions for us. Isabella?
Well, President Biden's announcement is prompting many local leaders to share their support on social media. I spoke to one senator from Encinitas today about her thoughts heading into November.
I'm relieved and I'm excited for what the next several months bring.
Several local leaders released statements following President Biden's announcement that he will no longer seek re-election. Mayor of San Diego Todd Gloria on X saying, "I love Joe Biden. He is a leader, patriot, and true public servant who has always put the good of our country first." The Democratic Party of San Diego issuing a statement saying, "President Biden has been one of the most consequential leaders in our nation's history. His decision to pass the torch is yet another act of selfless public service." In Governor Gavin Newsom thanking Biden and saying he will go down in history as one of the most impactful and selfless presidents. I spoke to Senator Catherine Blakespear about why President Biden made this decision and the next steps for the Democratic Party.
Well, I had come to expect it just recently. There were so many elected officials and others who were calling for there to be a transition that you can't effectively campaign and govern without the confidence of the group that is closest to you.
Shortly after announcing he will no longer run, Biden endorsed current Vice President Kamala Harris with several local leaders following suit. Representative Mike Levin releasing a statement saying, "I'm proud to follow President Biden's lead in endorsing Kamala Harris to be our next presidential nominee." Representative Juan Vargas saying in a statement, "My full support will be behind the Democratic nominee." and Senator LaFonza Butler, saying, "We must do everything we can to ensure Vice President Harris succeeds." I asked Senator Blakespear about her thoughts on the president's endorsement.
I'm so excited about Kamala. I think she's the pride of California, and she is our vice president, and she's done a fantastic job as the vice president. People have confidence in her.
She said following the endorsement, she expects the Democratic Party to unite behind Vice President Harris.
I expect that all of the issues around staffing and campaign endorsements and money and all the things that are necessary to run a successful campaign, those will transition over to her, and everybody will jump in with both feet. And we're excited to elect her.
And we've just learned within the hour that Governor Gavin Newsom has endorsed Vice President Harris as well. We'll be sure to keep you updated online at CBS8.com as more statements are released.
All right, Isabel, definitely a developing story. Thank you. So what do local voters think of today's decision? After all, the next president of the United States will still have to win over a lot of voters between now and November. So today we hit the streets to ask San Diegans how they feel about this major change in the 2024 election and their thoughts on the future.
You can't deny the fact that he's 81 years old, and he's an old man, and the Democrats need somebody younger to take the mantle.
But I think the world of him. He is what a selfless thing for him to do.
Nothing is wrong with him, but I think someone younger should be.
I'm very enthusiastic about that. I've been writing letters to everybody for the last several weeks, ever since the debate, thinking that Biden cannot recover from that disastrous performance.
And most of the people we spoke with today say they're excited about seeing a new presidential nominee for the Democratic Party. Okay, right now, all eyes on Vice President Kamala Harris. She has a long career as a prosecutor. She served in public office as the district attorney up in San Francisco before becoming California's attorney general, and then, of course, a U.S. senator. If Harris is at the top of the ticket now, there is already a long list of potential contenders for vice president, including California Governor Gavin Newsom. Still not clear yet if all of Biden's delegates will line up behind Harris. Coming up in our next half hour, we're going to take a closer look at potential VP picks and new polling numbers between Harris and Donald Trump. Carlo?
Okay, to dig into what today's news means, there's so much going on. We're joined by CBS 8 political analyst Laura Fink. Thanks for being here today on short notice. What finally drove Joe Biden to make this decision, the president to step aside in his reelection efforts?
You know, I think we have to remember that while we're experiencing this in a 24-hour news cycle, Joe Biden has experienced it in real life time. So it hasn't really been that long since the debate to make a momentous decision, in my view, a patriotic decision. So I think really it's his friends, it's his family. Nancy Pelosi, I think, had a strong hand. Her sense of winning and losing and the legacy that Joe Biden will leave will all weighed heavy on him. And so this is a momentous decision, one that he, I'm sure, didn't take lightly as he made it.
And basically, was this the right decision? Was there another path here?
It didn't appear to be.
Yeah.
The path was narrowing by the day. His viability was narrowing by the day. And the question was not can he win, but how many other Democrats might he take down with him if he stayed in the race?
Yeah, those are the expressed concerns. So what does the process look like for Democrats from now? Go.
Well, it's wild. Right now you see consolidated support behind Vice President Kamala Harris, which wasn't always expected. We know the Democrats have a little chaos under their tent at times, but it looks like they're all coalescing. And these are Democrats from the liberal wing of the party to the more conservative wing of the party who are lining up behind Kamala Harris. You heard that potential competitors are starting to line up and endorse her, like our own Governor Gavin Newsom. This means it bodes well for a clean convention and nomination process.
The stakes are really high right now. To be putting out your name without really having a chance or a time for a run-up seems like it would be a little half-cocked. What are the odds then right now that Kamala Harris, by the end of this week, is essentially the de facto nominee?
I think they're high. I think they're high because she's got $91 million that will be transferred over. That puts her a leg up above any competitors. I think she also is uniquely qualified to prosecute the case. She's a former prosecutor. And right now, voters and Democrats' best chance with voters is to make the case against President Trump, which Joe Biden was struggling with. In fact, it wasn't his ability to lead that was in question. It was his ability to make the case against Donald Trump and to win. Kamala Harris is uniquely positioned in that way. She's shown she can do it in the Senate. we'll see her on the campaign trail.
So what does the news of today do to the Trump campaign? How do they react to this? What are they thinking tonight?
If I'm the Trump campaign, I obviously want Joe Biden on the ticket because Trump was beating him handily. Kamala Harris is more of a question mark. If I'm a Republican, I'm preparing for that question mark. And don't think that they were not prepared. Obviously, they follow the news as well. And so they have made a stack of her potential liabilities and ways in which they can make the case against her. So Republicans are prepared for this outcome, and they will have 3 more weeks to continue to prepare before the Democratic convention.
You know, all things considered in this election cycle, is today a good day or a bad day for Democrats?
It's a positive day for Democrats. With Joe Biden at the top of the ticket, unfortunately, it did not appear there was a way forward that would be successful. The path was very narrow. With Kamala Harris, she has the energy, the vigor to meet the moment and to prosecute that case. Now, this is going to be less about Joe Biden's age and more about Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris, record to record, person to person.
You mentioned Democrats have a little chaos under the hood at times. What are the things that are going to keep things in order right now? We know that former President Obama has held back on an endorsement. Nancy Pelosi has not made an endorsement yet. What are they waiting for, and what's the X factor out there for them?
There are a lot of Democrats that don't want to see a coronation. So when you see party elders like former President Obama, like Nancy Pelosi, they don't want to be seen, sort of pushing the scale down on one side. And so what they're trying to do is to say, hey, we're going to hold back. We're going to let Democratic voices be known. There will be a process at the convention. Kamala Harris has said, I want to earn every vote. She will do that. So you want to make sure that the Democratic delegates don't feel like they're taken for granted.
Who are some of the names of people who might be thinking, but I really want to put my name in that race? Names that we haven't heard from yet.
Well, on your phone, you can check and you can see there's new news on this development every minute.
Second.
Joe Manchin has said he's considering entering the race. Last time I checked, I thought he had declared himself an independent, but maybe that's changed too. We may see somebody with a wild hair and a big cowboy hat thinking that they can get in and make some moves, but it's unlikely to be successful at this point.
We're going to talk about the VP picks in our second half hour. So we're going to wrap up for now because you're sticking around. We're going to talk to you again in the next half hour because 2 days ago, you were sitting here. We talked about the RNC. You told me that it was clear that the Trump campaign had the wind at its back. In the next half hour, we're going to talk about how those winds have changed and how much and what a possible Harris-Trump election campaign is going to look like. Laura, we'll catch up with you in a bit.